Are you a hardworking local business owner striving for success online? There is help. Welcome to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast, featuring candid conversations and inspiring stories of online success. Now, here's your host.
Yes, this is James Martell, and I am your host for the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. And today, Tony Valentino, a local customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at Smarter Local, is my co-host. And today we are going to be talking about the 6 customer nurturing emails every local business should send to build loyalty, increase return visits, improve sales, gather in 5-star reviews, and dramatically increase your Facebook and social media following. Now, before Tony joins us, just a reminder that if you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid marketing strategy for your business that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, go ahead and reply to the email in which you receive this podcast episode to arrange a free 30-minute consultation to discuss how a Smarter Local Marketing program can be custom tailored to your specific needs and business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you receive this podcast episode to arrange your free, no obligation, 30-minute consultation. Now again, Tony Valentino is a local customer acquisition specialist and a partner here at Smarter Local. Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you, James. Thank you for having me. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm on, of course, the other side of the continent. You're tucked into Florida, and I would imagine it's reasonably warm, maybe even sunny.
Well, relative to where you are, yes, it is.
Yeah, and I'm tucked into Vancouver, BC, Canada, where it's cold, overcast, and raining, and fortunately not snowing. That's always a good thing. So, hey, thanks for joining me. I thought you and I have been talking about email, and we've had a couple of great podcast episodes together on some really big successes you've had with Smarter Local clients of yourself in your neck of the woods. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to broaden out the conversation a little bit and talk a little bit more about email and email marketing specifically for local business owners, because no matter what the marketing strategy is online these days, email is still by far the number one strategy that produces the most results for businesses, and that includes local businesses. I also know that many local business owners haven't taken that step yet to actually employ email in their marketing, and I want to encourage them to do that. And I want to do that today by talking with you about the 6 customer nurturing emails that every local business owner should send out, and then talk about exactly why they should do that and how they can do that. But I think, what we should probably start out first talking about, if we could, is just to kind of lay the groundwork. It's one thing to send an email, and we're not talking about opening up an email generally and just sending it manually. We're talking about putting together a series of emails that are sent automatically on a schedule, so that this is one-time work that can actually produce long-term results for the business owner for literally years if they just get a little bit organized on the front end. So let me toss a question to you. When we're talking about the automation here, just to kind of lay the groundwork. Autoresponder is a word we're going to be talking about, but give us a definition or talk about how an autoresponder works.
Oh, absolutely. Here's how I think of an autoresponder, and you're right, it is a big word that we don't need to use anymore, but this is what we mean. I like to think of it as a little piece of artificial intelligence, almost like a robot, if you would, that you set up. You don't need to get right from the start, but, you set up over time. And as you say, this thing continues working for you day and night forever, basically. It's residual, one of my favorite words and terms. So that's how I think of it, James. What do you think of that analogy?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. One of the things that I like to do in the online world, I've been in this space now for just coming up on 20 years, working full time in internet marketing. The biggest thing I love about the internet, and I think small business owners can appreciate this, is that we can put a strategy in place and employ a piece of software like an autoresponder, get it all set up, and then it just runs. And there's a little bit of an investment involved, not much, but a little bit to kind of organize it all. And there's some writing that needs to be done to create the emails and the various things. But unlike a newspaper ad or many of the traditional forms of advertising, even paid ads and stuff these days online, you pay and you get to play. But the second you stop paying, everything stops.
Mm-hmm.
Where a strategy like an autoresponder, where you queue up a series of emails that go out to your customers and prospects on a schedule over time, once that's set up, that can be continuously working for you without you having to spend any more money on it. And it's just, there's so many of these little strategies that business owners can employ that will begin to just backfill their marketing around them. Next thing you know, there's all kinds of things happening for their business because they just took the time to get it set up in advance. And an autoresponder, to me, is one of those things. An email is, there's real satisfaction knowing that you've put in place a system that is going to better connect with your customers. It's going to keep them in the know about what's going on in your business. It's going to invite them back continuously, and it's going to work for you for years for just a little bit of upfront work. So for me, and to me, this is just a great topic because there's not a business out there that probably wouldn't agree, business owner out there that wouldn't agree that we could do a better job communicating with our clients. So let's do this. We're talking about 6 discussion points. Let me toss it to you. I've got number 1 written down, and you and I have had a chance to go through it a little bit. Emails that educate. So there's 6 types of emails, nurturing emails as we call them, that we want to send out to our customers and clients on an ongoing basis. And number 1 is emails that educate. So maybe you could talk to that.
Yeah, no problem. What you're doing here is that you're giving something away. I guess a lot of people who are not familiar with email marketing may think of sending out emails to clients or potential customers as sending out a lot of sales pitches. Well, it's not. It's not the strategy and the idea behind it at all. So emails that educate, you're actually giving away value. You're giving away, some information that you feel is relevant, and that your clients and customers are going to get some kind of value. They're going to get some kind of a benefit from that piece of information. And here's what happens. They start to think of you as the expert in that field. So what you do, you're actually starting to build, you're starting to build a rapport. And that's what education to me means through emails, James. What have you got to say about that?
Yeah, to me, these emails typically will present a problem up front because as business owners, we all have products and services that solve problems or provide solutions. And an educational email will usually address typically a single problem. And it could be, any number of things. And then it'll provide the solution to that problem, which would be probably more than likely your products or services. And I've found educating potential customers and clients is really one of the new ways to sell because there's so much confusion out there. If you could just provide some clarity and a little education, many times those are going to just trigger your customer into wanting to do business with you because you've just proved to them, number 1, they have a problem or they're looking for a solution, and you presented to them exactly that with, through your offering, what you offer as that solution. So it could be something, a little educational series of emails, maybe a 2-3 part email series, maybe 3-4 parts. One goes out every day for a week, maybe 4 or 5 days. And maybe you're a lawn care company and it's springtime coming up and you're just you're not going to sell them. You're just educating them on how to get their lawn prepared for the upcoming season. And that can be very helpful. It reminds them. And there's some other things that happens on the flip side of that too. It's easy. It's probably one of the easiest way to shorten up that sales cycle because, of course, people have questions typically when they come into an establishment or when they're dealing with maybe a professional over the phone. And if you've already addressed those questions and provided up the answers, then you're definitely shortening your sales cycle. So when that customer gives you a call, they're quite a far way down the pipeline, and they're probably pretty much ready to do business with you.
Yeah, I like to say that if somebody has gotten through and digested any piece of information, it's pre-qualified them. It's made, it's qualified them further, as you say, in the funnel, in the process of things. For your product, your service, whatever it is. Mostly, as I say, there's that relationship. They've come a step further in a relationship with you, and and in fact, that's a very endearing and an enfolding thing, and something that lasts.
It does. And the other thing that just comes to mind is if you really want to tackle this at a high level, you can sit down and you can figure out over the period of a year on the calendar what's coming up. So let's say you were let's pick maybe a florist, and you know that you've got certain holidays coming up where you're probably going to be slammed anyways. I know if I go up to buy flowers for my wife, daughter, or granddaughter on Valentine's Day, they don't need any more business.
Right.
Because they're lined up out the door. And so everybody's got these seasonal events that are really big already, and they probably don't need a lot of promotion, but there's a lot of times during the year where it's quieter, much quieter. And with a nicely designed email series where, let's say you've got offers that are going to go out automatically on January 15th, another one on whatever the dates are, but you've developed a series of maybe 30, 40 emails that go out automatically based on the calendar year to get people coming in. So let's go back to the lawn and garden center. We know springtime, it's time to get the yard prepared. There's all the lawn prep after winter. There's the gardening. There's everything that needs to be done. Well, that's a natural time to have an email series go out to educate potential clients and customers to come back in to pick up. But then summertime comes around and there's certain things that can be done and throughout the year. So everybody's business is different. But if you sit down on a piece of paper and you come up with 20 or 30 different times of the year where maybe you're a little quiet and you haven't got the business coming through the door like the florist does on Valentine's Day, then you can really backfill a lot of the quieter times with many more customers because you're educating them and now they know you've got a special offer for them and various things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, one of the benefits here of emails is that it's real time. It's not an ad in the paper. You got to wait for circulation or whatever, the print to go out or, the monthly edition. It's in real time. And most people carry smartphones and they respond when the little bell goes off to notify them that there's a new email in their inbox. A large percentage of people look over and look into their inbox and read their messages.
It's amazing to me. I'm running an ad campaign, a Google AdWords campaign for a client right now. And I was actually looking at the stats. 90% of the people that click on his ad are on their smartphone.
Yeah.
6% are on their computer and 4% are on their tablet. But 90%.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
It's great. I've heard you talk about this for a number of years. In the past, you said, we're going mobile. We're going, and, it's interesting to hear you say now,
we're mobile. Yeah, we're mobile. Definitely. Okay, so that's number one. Emails that educate. They don't need to be selling. They don't need to be salesy. You're educating the recipient about your products and services. You're helping them solve problems, providing up solutions, reminding them of certain things that are coming up in the near future. Maybe you're going to be busy for Valentine's Day, you know that already, but maybe you've got some very special customers that you want to get there in advance to let them know, hey, we've got some special roses coming up this year, but you're going to need to get in early. So it's just a matter of creativity, sitting down, brainstorming with your staff, brainstorming with people like us to figure out what emails are going to be suitable for your business. So that's number one. So number two, what I've got on the list here, Tony, is emails that get the two of you connected. So you want to connect with your customer base, your client base. So that's number two. Any ideas on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is a really good vehicle, a really good way for business owners to, not their credit card, not a sale, but something like maybe, subscribe to something. Subscribe to my blog, subscribe to a channel that you might have, Facebook or something else. You're building, it's another way and another step to build that relationship between the two of you.
Yeah, if you want to build up your Facebook following, you can always send out a little note to everyone and say, hey, if you're not following, that's the other thing. These emails can be very simple. If you're not following us on Facebook, hey, why don't you just click on the link? Next thing you know, you've built up your Facebook following, and maybe you schedule that into your email series so that little email goes out every 4 months to everybody on your list, because obviously there's new people joining your list every single day. And we should probably mention that you may or may not currently have an email list, and there's some amazingly simple ways to quickly put together a really solid email list, especially if you've been in business any period of time. And if I may just put a shout out, as you did in one of the last episodes, to Jose Quiros, and an episode that I had a good fortune to do with him called 3 Surprisingly Easy to Implement Strategies to Quickly Grow Your Email Audience from 0 to 1,000 plus. And that was with Jose. So if you want to check out that episode, I think you'll find if you don't have any email subscribers now, don't worry about it. It's not going to be a year or two before you have them. With a little bit of know-how and a little bit of elbow grease, you can quickly put together a great email list of people who will happily come back and do business with you. So, but Tony, emails that get the two of you connected, one other thing that you said that you can ask them to do things. Couple real quick little success stories that I just penciled in here. You mentioned ask them to subscribe to your blog, ask them to connect with you on Facebook, social media, maybe subscribe to your YouTube channel. But the other thing that we do is I've got programmed into my client's autoresponder series a really well-written email that is addressed from the owner that asks the subscriber, the customer, the client to leave them a review. Mm-hmm. And I know Dr. Cale Copeland from Victoria Family Chiropractic, I actually just gave him that email because we've got his email system all set up, and he had his wife, Melissa, take that email, put it into their system, and he sent it out immediately right away. And that grew him from 59 5-star reviews to 68. So he grew by 9 reviews within just a few days. And I think we're all probably pretty tuned into how important a review is.
Absolutely. One of the questions I get asked a lot, James, and maybe you can talk to this as well, but a lot of business owners think that it's difficult to get their customers and clients to leave and write a review. There are a lot of tools out there these days that, like you say, it's a button. Basically, it's a click, and they will be directed somewhere where they just fill out a form, and the form gets posted as a review. So, the technology and services, different tools are in place these days to really streamline that. So I want to encourage anybody listening to think of especially getting reviews through emails, requesting a review, to really do that. Because as you say, we know how important, Google considers reviews around the internet. What can you say? Well, I'm sure you've got something that you can add further there, James.
Well, yeah. So I was just thinking of Sawbucks Pub. I just pulled them up on the screen. They're another client of mine up here in the Greater Vancouver area. And in their particular case, when we started working with them, they had 3 reviews. 2 of them were horrible, and 1 of them was okay.
Yeah.
But they had no review strategy in place. They didn't even really know they had any reviews. It was completely off their radar screen. So I sat down with them. We kind of went through it. They quickly realized, yes, reviews are the way of the internet. When people are going out these days, especially in this case to a pub or pretty much anything almost these days, a lot of people pick up their smartphone and do a quick Google search to see the reviews. And they quickly can see. So in the case of Sawbucks, and this gets back to the automation of the marketing strategy here, I've got a program into their system that the same email goes out from Rod to the entire list every 6 months forever. It's not going to end until I turn it off, which will probably be never. So he's grown from 3 reviews to today he's got 238 reviews just on Google alone, averaging 4.2 out of 5.
Fabulous.
And he had 3. And we change this up a little bit once in a while. So if we feel we got enough Google reviews, we'll swap out the email a little bit, and we'll send them over to a different review site. In total, he's got over 700 reviews now, averaging almost 4.5. And this was all from just getting a little strategy in place, setting it up in advance, and programming it in such a way that it goes out automatically every 6 months. He doesn't need to worry anymore about getting reviews because they just come in because of the little system that we put in place.
Absolutely. Sounds great. I want to point out something here too, and we've kind of hinted around this point, James, and I think you'll agree, but we haven't actually quite mentioned that this email autoresponder is not a fixed piece of machinery or software. It's quite open to go in for modification. So you can go in and change things around, change the order, add, take out. So it's something that can grow, expand, and learn as you do. Wouldn't you agree?
That's a good thing to point out. And I do that myself. I'll go in. You let these run for a while, and then you go back in. And because they're going out on a schedule, you may have one go out day 1, and the next one goes out on day 7, and then day 14, day 30, whatever the schedule is. But you let it run for a while. Then you go back in and you can see, okay, the open rate. This one was open 37% of the time. This one was open 22% of the time. Yep. This one was open 2%. Okay, let's see what's going on with this one. Open it up, make some tweaks to it, rewrite the subject line. Obviously, it's not connecting with the audience that's receiving it, and just make some adjustments to improve upon this. But you're 100% right. This is not like a newspaper ad that once it goes to print, it's done. This is a vibrant little system that is in play at all times, and you can adjust it and tweak it, and you should. And, let me just toss out another one, too. Here, on the topic of the technology, we did an interview with Roy Weissman, the VP of Sales and Marketing for SendPulse. And let's not get into a lot of detail on it here, but because we got a great episode where we talked with Roy. But he has an email management software system that's online that you could set up for free and have up to 2,500 subscribers, which I think would cover off most small business owners. If you had 2,500 of your prospects and customers in an email software for your local business that you were sending out a weekly email to, I think everybody would easily see that would have a major impact on your business. But you could have up to 2,500 subscribers and send up to 15,000 emails a month for free. As soon as you get over 2,500, and then it's $9.95 a month. But all features are turned on. It's a full meal deal, and there's a lot of other really cool features built into it. So that I would definitely encourage anyone who hasn't had a chance to listen to that interview with Roy to track it down. It's Roy Weissman from SendPulse, and you find him on the site to have a listen to on that.
Right. You know what I would add, James, where you said, over 2,500, you get into a paid service at $9.95. I could guarantee anybody would be happy to pay $9.95
yes.
per month.
Yeah, not $995.
Yeah,
$9.95
per month. If they've got more than 2,500 people in their email list, the revenue that they would be generating from 2,500 people in a mailing list is easily going to cover that the little subscription fee.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, I don't know if I should, but I will. With the Sawbucks list, we've got about 1,500 subscribers. And these are good subscribers. These are people who have given us permission to email them. These are the best people that come into the pub. He puts a little fishbowl on the bar. They put their business card or fill out a little card, put it in there. And Jose, we talked with Jose about that in that earlier podcast I mentioned. But he's got 1,500 good quality subscribers that live in the area. They gave him permission to email them. That this is after bad email addresses or canceled email addresses or unsubscribes. This is a clean list. I can send out an email. They got a band coming in or a good offer for dinner one night, or they've got a fundraiser coming up, whatever it is, I can send out an email to that list, and we always get tremendous results bringing people back through the door.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was number 2, emails that get the two of you connected, get you connected with your customers and your clients. Number 3 is email that offer your offers. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. And here's the first thing I think about here, though, James, and not specifically with any offer, but I just want to point out, and I really like this. This is something that I go with, and I use an analogy when I'm speaking with my customers and helping them set up an email, autoresponder like this. If you notice what we've done here, I compare it to a boxer in a ring. We've done a jab, and now we're coming in with a hook. We've given value. Something else, we've reinforced our relationship. Now, this is the first time that we're basically asking for something. This is the first time we're presenting some kind of an offer, a sale, if you will. And so I like this. This is what I find works. And of course, the offer is, whatever your product or service may be, and you could back it up with an exclusive, some kind of exclusivity. People love that. That was something that was covered with Jose there in that podcast that you mentioned previously, or some special deal to nurture the relationship that you have with these special people who are in your email list.
It could be, if you're an oil change shop, you could have an oil change special. And that's the other thing. One thing I've learned working with local business owners, they hate couponing. They hate discounting. To them, it's like a necessary evil. Well, I've found that you don't necessarily have to discount. Maybe you can value add. You can offer a little extra something if they come in today. There's a restaurant chain up here called Swiss Chalet, and they never offer coupons, ever. But they always value add, so they'll have a little extra something special, like a chocolate, the Toblerone bar. It's like a chocolate bar at the end of the meal, or something like that, as an incentive to get people through the door. So one of the things I've found is you don't have to give away the farm to get people to come in to see you. And sometimes it's just a gentle reminder that, hey, we're here and this is what we got coming up this week, or we've got this on sale this week in the store. So yeah, so it's just a matter of staying in touch and staying in tune. If it happens to be, maybe the offer might be, we have a band coming up this Saturday night at the pub, and we have a cover charge if you arrive after 8, but if you get there before 8, we'll waive the cover charge. Yeah. So whatever the offer happens to be, the email just gives you that ability to reach out and connect. And the other thing about email, Tony, that and having a list, and when we say list, we can also include Facebook followers, Twitter followers, anybody that you've got the ability to reach out to on demand when you have something ready for them. This gives you some great power, because in a lot of cases you can't do that. And you think back to the early days, Tony, way before the internet. If you wanted to reach out to your customers, how would you do it?
Yeah, the old traditional methods. What else did you have? Stand on a hill with a megaphone?
yeah, mail them something. All very, very pricey. And that's the other thing with email. It's very, very cost effective.
Yeah.
So now let's go with so that was number 3, email that offer your offers. And then number 4, emails that help them improve. And that's a pretty cool idea. So you're basically going to be offering them up some, I would suggest, tips and things to help them improve themselves in their life, something that they're going to really appreciate. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, what comes to mind with me, and that is something that I'm seeing less and less in my part of the world here, my little corner, and that is after-sales service. Yeah, and so this is a great opportunity for us to offer our clients after-sales service. And again, we're nurturing, we're giving, information, we're giving freely without asking anything, and building the relationship. And it works, and it concretes, it cements the rapport. And I think it's fabulous. I think this is a great vehicle and a great opportunity, that unfortunately most people overlook, like you said way back at the intro.
It's true. And on this topic, it's basically, it gets back again to a little brainstorming to figure out exactly what these emails might be. But one thing that just popped into my mind, an email, and this is a little off the cuff and without a lot of thought, but if you're a lawn care company and your clients are obviously interested in having a nice lawn because they hired you, and in our local area, and I know this is probably similar across the continent, but up in Vancouver, most summers they put on water restrictions for the lawn. So you're not allowed to water your lawn on odd days. You have to only on evening days, or maybe only on Mondays and Thursdays. So a little email that went out to remind them of that, just a little touch base, just to remind, so you don't get a fine, or something that's really going to help them improve their life. So now their lawn's going to be staying green. They're not going to get a fine. But there's all kinds of ways you could go with that. It's just a matter of knowing your client, knowing your customers, and figuring out, ways that you can help them. Of course, an accountant or somebody in the accounting business can help people get their books ready prior to year end to know what write-offs they need to get in place before the end of the season. Again, I think it really is about sitting down and really brainstorming it through, isn't it?
It is, and I've got a little story here. Just recently, with one of my clients, James, he asked me, he said, what could I possibly write about? What could I possibly, put in these emails to these customers? I answered it with another question. I said, what do you find, relative to your field, what do you find interesting and engaging and useful? It doesn't have to necessarily come from you. I'm not saying that this is an idea or, some kind of technique that's that was a brainchild of yourself, but something that that you found or discovered that is truly helpful. Share that information. That's all you're doing. You're sharing something In fact, now I can't stop him. Now we have the opposite problem. He wants to send an email, twice, two and three times a day,
Oh, let's queue him up. Definitely.
Yeah.
Queue him up.
Yes.
That's very good. So number 4, again, was emails that help them improve. Number 5, emails that re-engage. Like this sounds like a simple one. It is, and it's a powerful one.
This is my favorite one, actually, James. I was waiting for you to come to this, actually. Can I tell you what I think is re-engaging, what I like to do here?
Please do.
I'm a huge fan of surveys. Very simple, one page. If it's above the fold, in other words, it means that somebody viewing this page on the, on the email on their screen doesn't have to scroll down or sideways. It's all in one, on that initial screen. It usually consists of 3 to 5 simple questions, and then there's the button right below that they can see, submit. So that, re-engaging with a survey. Now, what I put in the surveys is something that the customer is basically educating me. I'm asking them questions like, what would you like to see? And I might give them a little multiple choice answer, but I'm using it to reach out, ask some questions, and get information back. I know when I get a survey, the way I feel is that these people consider me highly enough to value my opinion. And not only that, but here's an opportunity for me to voice, that opinion that I have. So I find surveys, to be a great tool to re-engage, reconnect. If anyone's ever, stuck of an idea of what to send in an email, I'm going to say simple. It's got to be simple. It's got to be quick. Nobody wants to spend, more than a couple of minutes. But a simple survey.
Yeah, I do the same. I do the same in email, but I also do it on Facebook. So sometimes it's just a real quick one. It's just, who's your favorite? Because here we are at the beginning of the year at the time of this recording. Who was the favorite band that we brought into the pub last year?
Great information to know, isn't it?
Boom, in they come. There'll be like 50 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the Tragically Hit tribute band. It was the Bruce Springsteen tribute. Nearly Neil as Neil Diamond. And then you go down and you can literally figure out which ones were the most popular.
Yeah.
And that's really good information to know because these bands, they have a different price range.
Yeah.
And it's really good to know which band has the most reach and who likes them the most. So you're right. It gives you that. It really gives you that feedback. And
Absolutely.
People love to provide their, look at Facebook. I think Facebook, you ask a question on Facebook, if you've got any followers at all, you're going to get an answer.
But look at what it does. It gives you a vote. See, put yourself in your client's shoes. As I say, it gives you the opportunity to voice your opinion. You get to cast your vote. And I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It's definitely win-win. So that's number 5, emails that re-engage. And then the final one, emails that are personal. And this is a big one. So one of the ones that comes to mind with me is, and one of the things I'm not sure many business owners know, because it's usually the staff in many cases that are front end with the customers. I know in the case of the pub, that's true. The owner's not there most times. He's got a beautiful business, runs itself. He set it up so well. So I wrote some emails for him that are in the system and put his name on them. They're from him because we found customers love to hear from the owner.
Yes.
And they feel special, and they are special. And sometimes it's just a simple thank you for being our customer. And sometimes he's just sending something that's interesting. And other times it's, something like a request to leave us a review. But emails, I find personal emails. And the other thing, these ones don't necessarily always have to be automatic. Sometimes it's a good idea to send some of these manually.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like to do here? I like to include a photo. I like to get really personal, and I like to include a photo. That's another thing you don't see a lot anymore. A lot of people hiding behind their websites and their online personas, but getting personal. And especially with pets. If there's an office dog or cat, it's a killer. It's a killer way to get in and appeal to the emotions of your audience. And, it's something I learned from you, James, way back in the old days. We put our photos front and center on all our websites. And I find it still works.
People love to know who they're talking to, who they're hearing from. It's nothing worse than nobody reads a book from an author or a book that doesn't have their author's name on it. It's just like, it's weird. So my philosophy on this is put your smiling face on everything. And the other thing, one email that we don't have in this list, and there are definitely many others, we haven't covered them all, but share stories of what's going on at the pub or what's going on in your business. People are interested. You mentioned a dog. As you know, we do a lot of podcasting, and I was doing a podcast on another show of ours with Joan Milcrest, and I was just talking with her. And this happens to be a live web radio show over on webmasterradio.fm. And we're just talking, and we're talking about the content we're going through, and all of a sudden you hear ding dong, and the dogs lit up like a Christmas tree. They just went nuts. And she goes, James, I'll be right back. And I hear click, puts the phone down on the desk, heads over to the door, answers it back, but the dogs are just flipping out. And then we just laughed and continued on. We had so many emails.
But that's personable. Exactly. Yeah. That's totally real life.
And you got to get Joan and her dogs back on. They were hilarious.
Yeah.
It was like, so you're right. So be personable. Be yourself. That's the other thing. Some of us get stiff when we think we got to sound all corporate and stuff all of a sudden when we do this. It's an email. It's not. I know a lot of business owners would think, well, what do I say? I don't know what to write. And I understand that because I've had that experience when I got started a long time ago too. But really, it's just an email. Right. And you're talking to your customers. So if you keep that in mind, it's really not rocket science. So hey, maybe we could offer up a few tips.
Sure.
And I've put a list together here. I don't think you've got them on putting these emails together. And again, it is just an email, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 real quick ones.
Sure.
Number 1, make the subject line short and impactful. So you want it to be intriguing. You want to get their attention. You want them to open that email up. The second one, number 2, is make the emails easy to skim. And my big pet peeve is these big fat paragraphs where it's just blah, blah, blah. It's like 4 inches thick. My emails are typically, my paragraphs in an email are sometimes 1 sentence, usually 2, maybe 3 at the most. And break it up with bullet points so it's easy to skim. Because we're on our phones a lot of times. You just skim it through it, right?
Yes.
I'll do it. And then number 3 is make sure the points you want to drive home are emphasized so that they stand out from the rest of the email. So if you want to really get a certain point across, make sure that they're standing out. Maybe those are the bullet points. Maybe it's a subheadline, something that's really going to definitely get their attention. And then you mentioned this one. This is number 4. A photo can do wonders in an email.
Yes, sir.
Because now they know exactly who they're hearing from. And it does add that personal touch. And then the other thing, the last one, number 5, is, make sure you got a call to action with a link back to your website. That's easy to find, easy to read. But sometimes they have a tendency to get buried, and you want to make sure those are nice and clear. Maybe you can put, if it's a longer email, put 2 or 3 of them in the email so they don't miss them.
Yeah. I would add one or two little things there that I know, just speaking personally, when I receive emails from people on which on which lists I happen to be to subscribe to. But I appreciate it when someone's gone to the effort of grammar and spelling. Just it's not sloppy. You can tell they've taken a little bit of time, and at least it's not sloppy. It's they've taken the time to try to get it correct. I notice that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you want to get your message out there. You're right. You want it to be clear. You want it to be easy to read. You don't want to be confusing. We have a saying around here, a confused mind says no. So you don't want to ever confuse them, and you want to offer them a clear offer and a way to get back to, you want them to take an action. Whatever that action is needs to be easy for them to do.
Sure. I love your bullet points, your clear and concise headings, and then the bullet points. Just make it quick, easy, and simple to digest.
So agreed. So now let's wrap it up with this. So there's obviously 2 ways to tackle this for the business owners. Number 1, you can do it yourself. Maybe get a staff member to work with you. Sit down and brainstorm it through. Get a notepad out. just do a brainstorming session and just dump everything onto a page what you think might work, and make a long list of emails that you would think about creating. Or you could list the services of someone at Smarter Local. And I've written literally and had written probably, I don't know, well over, let's just say thousands of emails for this particular idea. And I know Smarter Local partners have done much of this as well. So we're very well versed in not only getting the right emails crafted, but also getting them set up in a system for you so that all you need to do is add the names and the email addresses, and then everything will take care of itself from there. So, Tony, maybe you could offer up some words of encouragement to business owners who may be a little short on time, but they do need to bring more clients through the door. They need to bring more customers, and they're saying, hey, this looks good, this sounds good, it makes sense, but I don't want to make sure that 2 weeks from now if this fades away and never gets done. This is important. So offer up some encouragement to our listeners to get this done.
Absolutely, yeah. This is an easy one for me, and you're right. It's not rocket science. Anyone can do this, but as a business owner, do you really have the time? Do you really want to? Your time could, most likely be better spent, working on your business. Whatever other projects that entails. And this is what somebody like one of the Smarter Local people can do for you. And that is, you mentioned this earlier, James, about looking at open rates and, different words, different terms. What that is that's the metrics and the analytics. Somebody like us, who can do it for you basically, are going to go in behind the scenes, and they're going to put tools in place that can measure the success, right down to small little details, which means that you can hone in on the successes. You can improve the things that may require, better results. And here's another thing too. Going back, I guess this is more a plug for email marketing more than anything, and that is, we haven't mentioned it this time, but we have mentioned it in other podcasts in this series, and that is that it's so many more times easier to sell to a customer, to someone who's purchased or who's given you their permission to contact them. It's so many more times easier to deal with them and bring them on and perhaps get repeat sales than it is to acquire a completely new customer. It takes a lot more energy and a lot more resources. That's what I would say there. It's the behind the scenes, and it's the experience. I know you've put together thousands of emails, and I've certainly done my fair share as well. But I think that's the definition between, I don't know, what would you say, an expert, James? And that is the metrics, the measuring tools, and the accountability.
I agree. Getting it done, getting it in place, and then measuring and tracking it. I remember one thing, seeing this a long time ago at a search engine conference, probably 15 years ago, and I never really thought about it, but they said, and they just used a number, let's say you're getting a 1% conversion rate. He says, if you realize if you move from 1% to 2%, you only increase by 1%, you've actually increased your revenue by 100% because you've doubled it.
Yeah.
And then if you increase it to 3%, 4%, 5%, this is why measuring, having the tools in place and making the adjustments makes such a big deal, because the internet allows us to do that, where in the early days it was doable before the internet, but it was hard. With the tools now, everything's tracked in real time, as you said earlier. It's right in front of us in the dashboard. It's just a matter of paying attention to it and having the time to pay attention to it so it gets done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take it one step further, and that is for, if we wanted to introduce paid advertising, we have a lot of tools in place where we can basically forecast the amount of names that we would need in an email, the open rates, all these technical terms, which I'm not going to really, go over. But James, you probably agree that we could forecast pretty accurately, how many people, how much revenue, which would give us so much, for paid advertising. It's something that you can scale within your business and grow. It's powerful. Metrics and analytics are a powerful, powerful tool that, again, I think that we have in place for the benefit of our customers.
Love it. Love it. Tony, I can see we are coming up against the clock. I want to thank you for joining me again today. I look forward to chatting with you again very soon. Just a reminder to our listeners as well that those two other episodes that we mentioned, the first one was with Jose Quiroz, 3 surprisingly easy to implement strategies to quickly grow your email audience from 0 to 1,000 plus. We'll put a link to that in the show notes for this particular episode. And the second one was Skyrocket Email Open Rates with Email Software for Non-Techies. And that was with Roy Weissman. And again, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Now, if there's something that we talked about here today that makes sense to you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, or maybe you just don't have the time, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to receive your free no obligation 30-minute consultation and discovery session. We would love to help bring you more clients and customers. That's what we do. We're very passionate about it. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this episode to arrange your free, no obligation 30-minute consultation and discovery session. And finally, if you enjoyed this episode and know a friend or an associate who would benefit from what we shared here today, we would really appreciate it if you would pass this episode on to them. I'm sure they would thank you for it. Tony, thank you again. And to our listeners, thanks for listening to another edition of the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Smarter Local Marketing Podcast. If you would love to finally have in place a rock-solid internet marketing strategy that provides you with an excellent ongoing return on investment, then go ahead and reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange a free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation to discuss how a smarter local marketing program can be tailored to your specific needs and business. Again, simply reply to the email in which you received this podcast episode to arrange your free, no-obligation 30-minute consultation.